Welcome back to the Road to 1 Million podcast. If you guys are listening to this as it's going live, it's the day after Christmas. So I hope everyone had a wonderful Christmas and were able to enjoy some good rest time with their family. On this week's episode, we've got on Will Bean, the general manager of Skyway Motorspace in Palmetto, Florida. Skyway Motorspace is a 70,000 square foot car storage facility, and they also do paint protection film, detailing, ceramic coatings, window tint, and a lot of other services as well. These guys just finished building. So on this week's episode, Will's going to talk to us about the process of building Skyway Motorspace, some of the challenges that they've been going through, how they market, and how business has been going since they've opened. Hope you guys enjoy. Don't forget, you can use the timestamps in the description to skip ahead. And without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, today I'm with Will, owner or GM of Skyway Motorspace. I almost said owner, and
not there yet.
That's one of the things I actually wanted to talk about with you, Will, was how did you become GM of Skyway Motorspace, and how did you meet? Is it John? That's the owner.
So Rob is the owner. John would be the CEO. John runs a bunch of the owner's projects, whether from the yachts, the boats, some of the other properties. And then from the conception of this place, John was in charge. But to tie into how I got brought in and on board with GM, so Rob is an avid car enthusiast. And I mean, he's got a collection of probably about 120 cars, and anywhere from muscle cars to exotics to some supercars to old Rolls Royces and kind of everything in between, and some daily drivers. So he's just a car guy. And so they had the idea of, how do you get all your cars into one place? And so John came on board and they said, hey, we're going to build a facility that can hold all 120 cars, plus some. They did the math, and it made sense to make it a building where you can go 4 lifts high and make it larger and turn it into actually a true business, not just a place to store and take care and maintain your cars. So there's an engineer, kind of we call him, I guess he's the head mechanic. His name is Junie, great guy. He maintains all of Rob's cars. And I was working at a company called Ceramic Pro, so I'm sure you're pretty familiar with that company, especially being in the detailed world. And they called us, and they had an issue with one of their Lamborghini Diablos on some windshield issues. So we took the project on, and we actually kind of broke the car when the car was at our facility. One of the technicians went to go put it in reverse, didn't know how to get it to go in reverse. I think he kind of slammed it in reverse and bent a shift linkage. So I was like, picked up the phone and called, Junie, the head mechanic, and said, hey, listen, I just want to let you know, we broke the Diablo. Nobody wants to make that phone call ever. But it's the right thing to do. So I called him. I said, hey, listen, we broke your Diablo. Sorry. But I got a good friend of mine that's over at the Lamborghini dealership across the street. He's going to come over and take a look at it for us, and we can fix it if you want, or, whatever route you want to go. He's like, listen, thanks for calling, just get it taken care of and then do your thing. So I had the linkage fixed on the car. We took care of the windshield, clear plex issue, and got the car back on the road. And he was pretty, I'd say, happy with the way that it all worked itself out, with us breaking the car. Someone manning up and said, hey, listen, we messed up. We're going to fix it, and we're going to move on, hopefully. And so they liked the way that we treated them when we did business. So a year forward, they bring over one of their Ferraris to us over at Ceramic Pro, and it had some damage on it, and we did some PPF repair and some paint work and stuff. And this is where they brought the idea onto me of, hey, I want to show you what we're building out here in Palmetto. It's a large storage facility. So my brain, I'm a sales guy at Ceramic Pro. I'm thinking, okay, well, how do I get Ceramic Pro into this place? Where they were trying to kind of get me into that place.
Okay.
We started doing some chatting, talking, and they're car people. I'm just a car nerd. And then we started talking about my background in management, and they didn't know that I had been a regional sales manager for T-Mobile and I'd ran all of stores in Indiana and Kentucky and stuff. So that turned into more conversations of maybe not just a guy that's there to run the detail department or in sales, but maybe be the general manager. So conversations had kind of gone back and forth, and I accepted the job. The building itself took a long time to build, especially with Florida. We had some hurricanes 2 years ago. We had Hurricane Milton and Helene, and they really slowed down the project out here. So it was a little bit of a delay. But I came on board with these guys in December of last year. So going on my year mark here shortly.
Wow, man, that's a cool story.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, mess ups can turn into something positive, if you know how to do things the right way. So
We just had that happen ourselves, actually. So,
what happened there?
well, we pulled up a piece of PPF that had been on a car for 40 years, and it peeled up the paint.
And there went the paint.
Yeah. And we didn't set the proper expectation. Like, we let the client know that this is a chance, but we didn't express that if it does happen, like if you're okay with us peeling this off and it does happen, it's not on us. Like this is part of the process of removing PPF on an old vehicle.
Yeah.
So we can either leave it, or you want us to remove it, but it does pull it off. Unfortunately, that's on you. We didn't set that clear expectation. And so we called another detailer that we know, and he's been doing PPF since 2014, one of the first guys to get into PPF here in my city. And he had his own detailing business and decided that he was going to actually be stepping out. And because of that phone call, he asked us if we wanted to purchase the business, or at least the book of business and some other assets. And so we're working together right now to make a deal with that.
Nice.
So,
congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah.
But it's funny how those little, hiccups can turn into something that's awesome.
Yeah. And it's just an important reminder to just do the right thing always, even though it's not always the easy thing. And to be honest, and not that you should go into it with the expectation like, oh, something's good is going to come out of this, but
it usually doesn't.
Yeah, it usually doesn't. Yeah. But you never know. Yeah, at the end of the day, I'm curious to know how much did that cost to have redone? Was it like an insurance job, or did you guys pay that out of pocket?
I think it was, honestly, it was like I guess like the linkage had just popped out.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just threw it on one of our lifts, and my buddy came over, and I got a lot of friends in the auto industry, and he was a tech at Lambo, and he just came over and just helped us out. And I think I bought him a beer, so.
Wow. So he did it for free after that.
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
The company, we probably they could have wrote a bill and sent it off to the owners of our company at the time, and it wouldn't have been that big of a deal, but it's nice to have friends in low places.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. It's really important to know a dent guy and paint guys and mechanics. And yeah, when you're working on cars, inevitably something's going to happen.
Yeah. And if you do enough of them, I feel like you always build a good relationship with the people around you that are like the subcontractors that you're always going to need. You always need a good PDR guy. You always need a good touch-up guy. I think those are, the wheel guys too, for curb wheels, having someone like that in your back pocket's important.
Yeah. So were Rob and John going to be at this facility at Skyway Motorspace? Were they going to be implementing paint protection film, ceramic coatings, detailing, or was that something that you kind of introduced to them?
So Rob's son and some of the friends of the kids are car guys as well. So they had the idea of, at one point, let's do paint protection film, let's do ceramic coatings, let's do more detailing services. But nothing was really set in stone of the companies they wanted to use, or some of the bays. So actually, it's funny, when the building was created, it was actually created to house the cars, and then a separate area was more for maintaining them. So more for maintenance purposes, doing oil changes, tire rotations. That kind of got curbed, and we ended up building a building next door to us for all of the mechanic stuff. So the building got built with this mechanics bays, and which turned into a detail shop. So some of the stuff that I changed when I came on was, the PPF rooms that were going to be used never had drains in them. So I looked at John. I said, "Where are we going to put where's the water going to go?" And they're like, "Oh, we didn't think about that." And it's a lot of other little things of how do we make what we have the best that we can make it. So like during one of our PPF rooms, like let's put a curtain in here. Let's separate this area from everywhere else. And I asked John, I was like, "Where are we going to do corrections?" He's like, "Oh, well, they're going to do corrections in coatings and PPF, and we're doing it all in the same room." We had a room separate with a separate door, and I was like, "Well, what's going on in here?" And they're like, "Well, this is going to be for oil changes if you want to do oil changes." I was like, "We're going to go ahead and just do all the corrections in this complete separate area." So all the corrections are done there, wet sanding is done there. So none of those dust and contaminants are getting into our ceramic coating areas, and then window tint, and then PPF separate as well. So try to make the clean room as clean as possible. And then, Rob's kids had the idea of getting like air scrubbers, which was a brilliant idea. So we've got a truss that runs across the detail facility, and we've got 4 Dayton air scrubbers that are up there just filtering the air at all times. So
pretty high-tech stuff, man. And I know that you guys have shown off a lot of this stuff on your social media. Is that you that's doing most of that stuff, most of the social media?
Yeah, so I've always liked social media. I've always loved like just doing stories and stuff. I think it's fun. So if I'm at a restaurant, I'm the first guy that phone eats first.
Mm-hmm.
That's always been me. Or if there's a pretty drink in front of me, I'm like, "Oh, look at the mojito! Look how nice that looks." So I'm always going to snap a photo. So I kind of carry the same philosophy here of we have so much cool stuff in front of us. Why not show it off? So I do have some help on social media. I have a really great photographer who I've hired in-house. He's one of our detailers, but he loves taking photos. So it's turned out to be a really cool hybrid position for him, especially since we're new and we're not as busy as you want to be. We're still pretty busy actually, but it's nice that he can take photos and then also be, working and buffing on cars as well. And then I do have an in-house. I'd say he's a guy that I've known for a long time when I was at Ceramic Pro, and he comes over and he does all the video work. So he does all of our reels for us and then edits everything. And then I kind of go back and forth with him like, "Okay, I want that changed," or "I want to say this," or "I want this." So then I give him the green light and then I kind of post it.
Yeah. How many videos are done right the first time versus like there's like 5 back and forths?
Oh, I'd say he probably hates me. I'm very picky, and everyone here knows Will likes things Will's way. So I'm very particular about everything. And I think there's probably 7 to 8 times back and forth before it's greenlit.
Yeah.
And I'll catch some funny things too. I'm like, "What was said there?" I'm like, "That didn't make any sense." He's like, "Well, that's what we got." I said, "Well, we're not using that video,
Yeah.
And he's like, "Wow." And I'm like, "Sorry, make another one." So I think it's important, whether it's a video or it's detailing or it's PPF, like my philosophy is do it right the first time, kind of touch it once mentality. And that does carry over from the social media side of things.
How's business going? Are you guys you guys have the 2 separate, I mean kind of it's all one, but 2 separate businesses in a sense. That's the storage facility and then the detailing, PPF, ceramic coatings, window tint. That goes hand in hand with that. So how's things going?
It's going really well. So the construction has been probably the biggest hiccup. I think when I originally came on board, we were supposed to be open in May. That turned into March, April, May, June, July. And we just finally got our certificate of occupancy, I think, in beginning of October. So we've technically only been open for about 2 months now. I think that word of mouth has been fantastic for us. We host a monthly Cars and Coffee here, kind of call it like an exotics and espresso, car show open house. So we're kind of gaining people that just want to check the facility out. Maybe you don't have a cool car that you want to take to a car show, but you want to see the facility. So the open house side of things, people can park where they want to, and then you still have a separate parking lot for the car shows. So that's been really good. So people checking the facility out can see how clean it is, see how good our work is, and we've gotten a lot of clients off of that. Also, I've been in the industry for a while. When I was over at Ceramic Pro, I've had a lot of people that still reach out of, hey, I need my car done, I need this done, So, but business has been good.
You
It could
guys are
always
able
be
to.
better, though.
It could always do better.
Yeah, always.
Yeah. What does that look like doing better?
I think that I would love to be at a point where I'm doing, 8 PPFs a week. We'll love 3 to 4 cars get dropped off on a Monday, leave on a Wednesday, and 4 cars get dropped off on a Wednesday, leave Friday. That does take manpower, obviously space as well. And I'd probably say I'm right there on the same numbers that I wish that I was at with ceramic coatings. I would love to have 8 to 10 cars going through here a week, but we're probably doing, I'd say, 4 PPFs a week right now, give or take, maybe 5. Some vinyl work. I've been pushing a lot of ceramic coating advertisements, so we're getting, I'd say, probably 4 to 5 cars a week on ceramic coating.
How much like cross selling is there in there where someone comes in for a coating and then ends up learning about PPF or vice versa?
I'd say 50%. I think that if you're passionate about your vehicle and you care enough, you're going to PPF the front of it and then ceramic coat the rest of it. You do have a lot of clients, and I think that I would prefer my guys to not oversell things. I know there's a lot of sales guys out there that are like, oh yeah, I PPF every car. Well, does every car need to be PPF the full car? In my opinion, no. But if a sales guy wants to do them, that's awesome. But I think that right fitting every customer is important. So if a client's just going back and forth and it's their Corvette that they only do a couple miles in and they go to car shows on Sundays, does that car really need PPF? Probably not. They want it, of course, we'll put it on there. But I think that, you just got to right fit the client. And I'd rather see us right fit the client than, oversell everybody.
Yeah. Because then there's people that come back, their first experience with PPF, they just didn't feel like they got the value out of it. They felt like they overpaid for what they got. And, if I had this happen 2 weeks ago, customer called asking about a ceramic coating, was mainly looking to protect against scratches along the bottoms of the doors because he does off-roading. In fact, it was a Raptor R 2025. He already had some scratches on there from off-roading. And I'm like, well, man, the coating's not going to protect against scratches. You need PPF. He goes, I hate that stuff, man. I'm like, well, why do you hate that stuff? He's like, I got a full body wrap on my last Raptor, and man, it was like $7,000, and it just got marred up and torn up, and you could see the cut everywhere, and you could tell he just had a bad experience with it. The company just maybe didn't take the time to set expectations with him. And I'm like, well, man, it sounds to me like you just need to do PPF on the bottoms of the doors and then maybe do like a front end PPF. Have you ever considered doing that? It would be a lot more affordable. He's like, I never thought about that. And so I think that's really what good sales is in this industry, is like understanding really what's the client's needs instead of like pushing them into something that they don't need.
Yeah, and I think that you hit the nail on the head. It's really just right fitting the client, and if that was done the first time with his PPF job, maybe he'd have a better, result or a better experience that going moving forward. Because he got upsold on something. He didn't probably need PPF on the whole truck. And yeah, does PPF look perfect? No. Yeah, and I think that sometimes you just need to set that expectation as well. If you want perfection, you ceramic coat your car because it's going to look great when it's done. Now, if you're looking for full protection, that's where PPF comes into play, and there's a trade-off, So I think just once again, just right fitting the client is important. And if everyone did it before us, I think the experience would be a lot better. So,
how many of the customers that are putting their cars in storage end up becoming either PPF coating or window tint clients?
I would say 80%. They need something. And it's funny, but right before we hopped on this call, I had one of my clients here, great guy. Lives up in St. Pete, so about 20 minutes, 30 minutes north of us here in Palmetto. And he has a matte black Lamborghini Huracan Evo Spider, and he has his Ferrari F8. No, it's a 488 here in storage with us. And he swaps cars. So he brings his Mercedes CL E53. He'll swap cars, But we've done all the work on this Evo. We even did he brings me a box the other day. It's a Capristo plug and play unit. There's already some unit on here for an old Capristo exhaust unit for doing the Valvetronic stuff. We take the tire off, we take the fender liner off. We're looking, there's an old box in there, and none of the stuff matches up. It's not plug and play at all, because you got to take the old unit and put it back to stock to now make it plug and play. So it's just fun stuff. But it's when the cars are here and you've got a fantastic staff and a facility that speaks very highly of itself. People trust you, and they're like, hey, while it's here, what else can you do? We've done a full PPF on his Ferrari 488. That car, we're doing a Capristo full exhaust with downpipes. When the Capristo exhaust gets here, we're ceramic coating the full exterior of it. We did windshield tint on it. We did windows on the side tint as well. And then even a couple of our customers in the back, every car they drop off, they're like, oh, what else do you guys do here? And it's nice to have a one-stop shop, but also it's that saving the customer's time of, hey, while it's here, we can take care of everything. So you don't have to do it later or send it there for window tint and send it across the street for PPF or send it somewhere for exhaust. We can handle all in-house. That's just maximizing the client's time.
How much of you guys have 430 spaces, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. How much of those spaces have you guys rented out already?
We're about 130.
130 out of the 430?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm kind of curious to know what point, because I'm sure you guys did a little bit of like projections going into this of like, we want to be at X amount of spaces rented out after like 1 year. This is a new business. It's going to take, just like everything, it's going to take a little bit of time for word of mouth to spread. Do you guys have like a goal by like the end of the year or like the end of next year as far as like how many spaces you guys want to have rented?
I think that within a year or so, I would say that you're starting a year now, just because we've only been open for a couple months. We would like to have at least 250 spots filled within a year. And then I think the main idea was always getting those collectors that have 5 to 10 to 20 cars and bring them on in here. It hasn't been like that yet. It's been most of customers that don't have storage at their condos or live on Siesta Key or one of the barrier islands, and they're worried about hurricanes. So they had the one-off or two-off cars where they've just got nowhere to put them, or they're sitting in the garage and not being driven. The wife's car is forced to be sitting outside. So, you're getting those cars. So we haven't really found the big collectors yet. Also, with being here in Florida, we haven't had snowbird season yet. We kind of missed that. So most of the clients that I do believe that have these large collections, or even the supercars, exotic cars here in Sarasota, have been up north, the whole time that we've been open or in the building process. So I'm excited to see what happens this snowbird season when they all come down.
Have out of the 100, you said 130 spaces you rented?
Yeah, we're right about 130.
Out of those 130, have you gotten like any clients that are like, oh, this is who we're going after? And if so, how did you get that person? How'd they find you?
So word of mouth has been huge. The car show community has been fantastic as well. It was funny, I would say, our last Cars and Coffee that we did, my sales girl, Samantha, she comes up to me and she goes, hey, I got a client that is interested in 4 cars, storing them. It's like, okay. She goes, will you go talk to him? I was like, of course, So I go talk to the guy. We're chit-chatting a little bit. I'm like, what do you got? He's got some Corvettes, CTSV, ZR1, another old Corvette. I'm like, okay. I'm like, when do you want to bring him in? He's like, how soon can I bring him? I'm like, now. and literally just him and his wife grabbed the car, brought two over, Ubered back, brought two more cars, and just dropped them off. And that was just from a car show. That was them just being here, sell a facility. Like, geez, we can pull all of our cars out of our house and just drop them off here. So you're getting some of the stuff from the car show. Also, I've noticed, one of my targeting marketing was, let's get in front of every car dealership. I want every single person in Sarasota, Bradenton area to know who Skyway Motorspace is. And the only way by doing that is, having salespeople that are out marketing, dropping cards off at the dealerships, dropping pens off, dropping notepads off, dropping little free goodies off, just kind of that friendly reminder of, hey, we're here to help. So, yeah.
Yeah, those clients are it's the same with like detailing. Those clients are so hard to find, but once they find you, like they're usually very, very loyal. You've got a client for life.
Yes, I do agree with the word client for life. And you just got to treat people the right way and they'll stay around,
Yeah. Do you think that social media will be a big help for getting those clients?
I think social media has to be in front of the right people. I don't think that my clients with a 20 car collection are on Instagram. Where are those people? They're maybe reading Golf Digest magazine. Maybe they have their iPad and they're scrolling. I don't know if social media is going to get that right clientele. I think that those people maybe are more on Facebook. So I do certain target demographic ads on Facebook to certain demographics, and then I do certain ads on Instagram to other clients.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a vinyl or a color change, I'll push that more on Instagram. If it's us, hey, how do we maintain your favorite car in our climate-controlled storage facility, that'll push more towards Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
But I think people are on social media, and I think that right now for us is more brand awareness, is just kind of repetition of them seeing that who we are. So you become almost a brand name. It's just kind of like Nike and Adidas over the years,
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. So I've talked to a lot of detailing, PPF, ceramic coating, window tint shops on this podcast. The guys that seem to be like at the top of what they do, the guys that are making the most amount of money doing this, like it seems to be around $250,000, $300,000 a month is kind of like, that's a very high end PPF ceramic coating tint detailing shop. Do you guys think that, and do you guys have goals to get to a level like that? Do you think that's attainable at Skyway Motorsports?
Yeah, I think that we'll easily be able to pump out at least $200,000 based off the size of the facility and based off of employees. So, $300,000, breaking that down on, a $3,000, let's just call it $3,000 in ceramic coating, PPF, some tint. How many cars did you do to get to that number? I think that that's too many cars for our facility. I think being realistic, we're definitely a $200,000 shop based off of our size.
Yeah. Yeah. And
if I had to do PPF in other areas, I can make it work.
Yeah.
So here on cutting, the building's 45,000 square feet.
Wow.
So we can do it if we had to, but given what we're using right now for our clean space, we can. I think that's where we're at numbers wise.
Yeah. Are you able to share at what point the business becomes like break even? Like, is it a mix between a certain storage unit and detailing?
I think that once the storage is completely filled up, there's just back to just pure profit when it comes to us doing, exhausts and PPF and ceramic coating and tint. So our goal is to have that storage facility fully filled. After that, it's free money.
Is there a lot of other storage facilities down there?
Nothing like us. Here in Florida, you do see a lot of the car condos, but with that, you're investing $200,000 plus to buy the land, the HOAs, the fees, the build out to the inside of the building. Or you can just go buy a small car condo and not outfit it. Just park 2 or 3 or 4 cars in it. There's not many indoor storage facilities like us. There's one in Sarasota, and they're a smaller facility. I'd say about 30 to 40 cars, and they've been around for a long, long time. But that was the only storage solution here in Sarasota.
What's been your experience like with employees? Has it been hard to find employees? Um, yeah, talk about that a little bit.
I'm going to say I'm the luckiest guy on the planet when it comes to employees. I love my employees. They're all great. Um, I did kind of poach some employees from other businesses, obviously, as you would. You're going to find your good people are working somewhere. So me being in the industry, at Ceramic Pro, I ended up taking, two of the really good employees over at Ceramic Pro, brought them on board here. Salespeople, I stole someone else from another business. I've had really good luck with employees. I think that since we've been open and kind of been going through the paces, I've let one person go. And I think it was a mixture of us not having the proper expectations of when we were going to be open due to construction. So we were in a limbo stage forever where, you want a really good employee, but you want to bring them on right away, but you can't pay them full time because we're not open. And they're not happy at their current position, or they are happy. And it's just a really weird thing. That was the hardest part of finding the employees, was just like, hey, I just need you to be patient with me, ride it out for 2 months. I'm sorry we're not open. I'm sorry we're delayed. I'm sorry we're delayed. I'm sorry we're delayed. But they trusted in me and they trusted in my vision. And they stuck with it. And I just got really good employees. I'm very, very fortunate in that one. The one thing that I will say is finding a non-subcontractor PPF people is probably one of the harder things. I feel like there's detailers kind of work for somebody. You've got your guys that are really good at buffing cars, really good at ceramic coating, really good at cleaning cars, and some of those guys go off on their own and they realize that it's really hard to open up your own business. It costs a lot of money. It costs a lot of money in marketing. There's a lot of overhead. There's insurances. You got to pay people. So they end up working for somebody. I think that the PPF people, they get trained somewhere and they do a lot of work underneath somebody and they realize, hey, I've made enough money where I can open up my own shop. And they do, and some of them fail. Some of them kind of now just bounce around from place to place. But I will say finding a true employee that's a PPF person has probably been the hardest thing. I'm using a subcontractor right now, and he just happened to stroll in the door here. He was like, hey, I saw this place. It looks awesome. I want to work here. But getting them to be an employee is just really hard because they know that if we're slow, they can get another phone call from another shop and they can go there for the day or go there for 2 days. And I'm okay with that. I want my employees that are PPF or my subcontractors to make as much money as they can. So if another shop's going to call them and offer them work, I say, go do it. I want you to go get as much money as you can, but I'd rather be the number one guy. So when I call you, come to me first, But it seems like nobody that's in that PPF business really wants to be, I don't want to say the word loyal, but they almost don't want to be tied down to one shop. So I'd say that's been my biggest struggle with employees. Now, granted, once again, we're only two weeks open or 2 months open, and it could change. What I am doing with two of my true current employees, I'm putting them through PPF training through 3M. I'm going to put money into investing in their future. I would love my true employees that have been with me since the start to kind of see what they're good at or maybe what they're bad at. And I'm okay with us finding that out the hard way or investing money in their future. This way, when they do plenty of PPF and we get them up on their feet and they get practice at it, maybe they're going to be really good. So we had the opportunity with sending 2 people in the beginning of December. There's a 3M facility down in Sarasota, so I'm going to send 2 of my guys. They showed interest in it. They said, what do you want to do? I said, sure.
What do the PPF contractors usually take? What percentage of the job?
You're seeing anywhere from 20 to 33%. It's negotiations and that, just like everything.
Are you providing the material for that?
Yeah. So in your material, I provide an air-conditioned, wonderful environment. Mm-hmm. Polos, all the knives, all the squeegees, all the water, whatever the soap, PO boards. I've got my Graph Tech plotters. I've got the core system, so I provide everything.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I wonder if the reason why it's harder to find loyal employees willing to do PPF right now, or like people that are trained in PPF that are willing to be loyal employees. I wonder if it's because it's a very sought after skill set, especially right now. Like you're kind of in like this PPF boom, I think. Especially I'm sure down there. And so it's still a fairly like new thing. I think most people that are like trained in PPF, not all, but most, are still fairly like they probably have like 3, 4 years, like maybe 5 years of experience. And they kind of are like in that spot where they can jump around and get paid more, and because there is more demand for it. And I don't know, I wonder if that's part of it.
yeah, and I don't blame them. If you're a highly sought after quarterback coming out of college, and or in the NFL, and someone's you're a free agent, and there's all these places that are gonna give you money. You want to go to the place that's gonna provide the championship and also probably provide the most money. And sometimes people maybe go for the money, or they go for the championship, or sometimes you get lucky and go for both. But I mean, the PPF people at the end of the day, I mean, they're really good at what they do. And there's a small percentage that are out there that can do it. So, and I
Yeah.
think that the remainers that kind of just bounce around, they've tried to open up their own places, and being a business owner is not for everybody either.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that a lot of those guys realize, like you said, like Adam Patali, who is founder of Adam's Polishes and Enzo's Hand Wash. He said the same thing on the podcast. He was saying how he's gotten a lot of detailer employees um, that started their own business and then realized like they need full-time health care or health insurance, and they just need a little bit more of a stable income. And he was able to provide that.
Yeah, I think that you're spot on. I mean, even with my background, at some point, I opened up my own business, and I was doing consignment auto sales, and it's fun. But then there's just a lot of extra things that go into it. And it's sometimes, working for somebody or being someone's right hand man
Mm-hmm.
uh, can almost be more rewarding and financially beneficial as well. Also mentally beneficial.
Yeah.
I love what I do, and I do worry about work on Saturdays and Sundays. But even me being the GM, I can still come home on a night and kick my shoes off and grab a beer and watch hockey and not stress over everything. And I think that a lot of business owners at the end, and I've seen it before, and it's happened to me. You get home and your brain just doesn't stop, and it's how am I going to make money for tomorrow? How am I going to make payroll in a month? How am I going to pay for supplies? It's just like you're constantly going. You're kind of worrying sometimes. So I'm not saying that there's no stress on me whatsoever, but I can still come home and kick my shoes off and watch a hockey game and not stress. So
Yeah. What's your communication like with John and Rob?
So John's been currently working out of here on a daily basis, and he's a fantastic CEO to work with. He's been involved in larger companies, so he takes on more of the corporate mentality. So I've worked for, I think the largest corporation I ever worked for was, AutoNation, and I was selling Mercedes, and that was an AutoNation company, and they're pretty big, but you don't get that corporate vibe that he's brought to the table here. So I like a lot of his insights on a corporate mentality, but I've always been more of the mom and pop kind of shop, where your employees' middle name, your employees', kids' names, and more about real life stuff. So it's kind of cool. It's been a really nice balance of working with him. A lot of great ideas from the get-go when they first brought me on of the vision of the facility. I like that John's also kind of known my background and handed over the keys to me and said, hey, you know what? At the end of the day, you know what you're doing. Do your thing. And he's been really hands off with that, which is nice. So I can pick and choose my material. I can pick and choose my employees. I can pick and choose my choice of advertising and strategies and what we do. And, I run a lot of things by him just out of pure kindness and courtesy. But, he's on board. Rob, on the other hand, is an amazing, amazing, amazing guy. He's a car guy, loves cars. He's more hands off on the business. He has some other businesses that he's in. So he's not here on a daily basis, but when he does come in here, he's smiling from ear to ear. He's like a little kid in the candy shop. I think it's kind of like a vision of, hey, I can actually see all my cars in one space now. It's really cool. His collection's awesome, and I love walking through the facility with him. And I'll look at him like, dude, why did you buy that? And he's like, well, I always liked this when I was a kid. And then, we were talking one day and I bought it. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, well, why'd you buy that one? And he's like, I had too many beers one place and I outbid on it. So I'm like, oh, great story. Like, it's fun to hear why people buy what they buy and when they bought it, And I love that he's purchased a lot of cars that he probably wanted when he was younger, couldn't afford them, worked his butt off to get where he's at now. And at some point, he was like, I wanted that, I'm going to buy it. I wanted that, I'm going to buy it. I wanted that in green, I'm going to find it and buy it. So he's kind of fulfilled those fantasies of the stuff that, we've always wanted and just couldn't have because we couldn't afford it. And he's got to do that now. And he's that kind of car collector, which is cool. It's like a passion project for him, not just, hey, these are a bunch of cars sitting around and hopefully they're collectibles. Honestly, I think that it probably, even he knows that he might have overpaid for some cars and he doesn't care because that's what he wanted, and working with him is really, really cool. He stays out of the business. Really, him and John are more involved with the business numbers per se. But when I do get to see Rob, it's more of this is cool. And it's more of the fun involved in the business. Yeah. I think at the end of the day, when you're in the auto industry, you do it because you love cars. No one does it because they like vacuuming. No one does it because they like cleaning windows. They do it because at some point in their life, they're like, I like cars and that's what I want to work on.
Yeah. So some people like the results, the before and after too, the transformations. I think that's really fulfilling as well.
Oh, yeah.
You meet a lot of cool people.
I've met some really cool people in my life. Yeah. I'm blessed to be in this industry, and I'm a car nerd. I think that it's really cool that when I get to take people into the back of the storage facility and I'm, smiling from ear to ear. I've seen these cars 100 times, and I still kind of smile when I see them, which is cool. And then I'll talk to some old guy that's like, you know what that is? And I'm like, it's a 63 Corvette, And then he'd be like, do you know how many were made? And I'm like, dude, beats me. And he'll be like, this many were made this year, and this many were in green, and this many were in red. I'm like, cool. I learned something new today. And yeah. I feel like every day being here, you learn something new. And I don't care how much of a car nerd that I am, I'm always wanting to learn something new or different. And you get to do that every day here.
How did Rob make his money?
He originally got involved in construction, and I think that evolved in some logistics with concert series and festivals. So yeah,
that's cool.
And then I think he just invested it the proper way. But he's a self-made guy. He's a hustler. He works hard, and I just love that he can spend money on things that he likes to enjoy.
Mm-hmm. What is John's main role in the company, and what does his day-to-day look like?
John manages some of Rob's projects. So whether it's, some of his properties, I know Rob's got a couple boats that he oversees as well, and obviously handles the financials and the building. When this was being built, he was heavily involved in the construction of this building. There's John knows this building better than probably the general contractor. He was involved from concrete being poured to the drywall to the light fixtures. And he's just he geeks out about this kind of stuff, and the right guy for the right job. So.
Yeah, it's crazy. You need a full-time person just to manage building something like that.
Yeah, John poured his heart and soul into the building of this place and was here every single day. And it was really cool once. So John and I were actually working we had a warehouse where we work on the cars. And we probably had about 20 cars stored in there. And John and I were working out of a kitchen table in the office when they brought me on in December, because this building still wasn't built. It was just, there wasn't even drywall in this place. So it was kind of fun to get to know John on a real personal level, because we sat each other from a kitchen table for months. So now I finally have my own office. He has his own office. So we're happy.
Has there been anything that has been like unexpected, that you just didn't expect getting into this, that you've been surprised by?
I think every day has some sort of curveball, whether it's the drain blocking or a weird odor coming from the drain, or, the material that got sent to us was damaged. I mean, you always have something funky happening through the week. Maybe not every day, but nothing big. I don't think that we've seen really any curveballs. I think the funniest curveball that I would say that our PPF bay is kind of short. Once we put the lift into it, I wanted to make sure the guys had enough room on the front of the car. So the back of the bay is kind of short. And I wanted like a curtain to block it off so the dust and dirt and contaminants stayed out, right? So super clean room. So I envisioned this curtain. So if you pull the normal car in there, the curtain was almost touching the back of the car. And I'm like, oh man, I need a bigger curtain. But I can't build a bigger concrete slab. So I had this idea of, we're going to build a curtain, and it's going to have like an awning, and it's going to come off, and it's going to drape down, and there's going to be posts. And it's like, I drew it up in my head and drew it on paper and got with the manufacturer come and made us a curtain. And it got here and it just sucked. Like,
Oh man,
it did not work at all. Like the
I think I know what
material
you're
was
talking
too
about.
heavy, the posts weren't holding it, it was sagging. Like, it was just like, damn, that just didn't work the way we wanted it to.
Yeah.
But in our heads, like, it was a great idea. But the execution of the heavy, clear plastic curtain just didn't work out the way. So now I have this expensive curtain that I designed that just kind of sits there and still Velcroed. It still blocks the thing off, but it's just not used the way that I want to give me another 3 feet in length. So, but other than that, I mean, really no big curveballs. I think the construction curveball was always the issue. It was another week, another month, where one of the constructions things that kind of delayed us was, and not to bash the county by any means, but, they told us that we needed to add 4 more shade trees to the parking lot. So they did it. We added the shade trees per their request. And then the guy comes back out and says, well, those shade trees need to be there, not there. They never told us where they needed to be in the beginning. And then they threw at us like, hey, you know what? Instead of having 2 palm trees in the island in the parking lot, we actually want 4 palm trees per island in the parking lot. It's just like, that's going to delay our opening some trees.
Yeah. That sounds
So
silly.
just funky things like that you don't expect. And I've never been through a construction project like this. So you kind of get to see some of the headaches that happen. But
yeah, construction always takes longer than expected, man. That's almost inevitable, I think, with anything. And, it's always like, you don't really know why until you get into it. And you're like, oh, it's like, who would have expected that?
It's some of the stuff that they come up with is wild,
If you guys were, and obviously your goal is to double, you're trying to get to 250 spaces rented by the end of next year. You're at about 130. So what does that look like? Is there anything that you guys haven't been doing that you need to be doing to get to that point?
I think that the timing with some of our website and SEO was off a little bit. We're heavy on we have a newer website that's built up, very up to date with all of our photos and the construction. And now it's a finished building. So now our website is fully updated. It's Skyway Motorspace FL.com. So there was a site before that we just had some weird kinks with one of the companies that we worked with. So we just found a way around it. But I think moving forward to get to where we're going to be is just focusing on more marketing, meeting the right clients, putting our marketing people in the right places at the right times, whether it's social events or getting them to the Ritz-Carlton and meeting the concierge, or how do we get our people to the right places? I think it's important. and it's just building relationships with the right people. And I kind of touched on it earlier. The snowbirds are a big thing here in Florida. So we probably, and I don't know the exact stat because it's been more people living here nowadays, but I think at one point, 50% of our population was gone during the certain times of the year. So people come back right around Christmas, January, February, March, and then come Easter, they're all back up north. So we missed those clients last year completely. So while they're here this year, we really need to make sure that we're in front of them with marketing, advertising, so that we can get those clients to know, hey, we're their solution. You can go buy more supercars because now I have the space to put your other ones in. Or when you're worried about your home getting wiped out by a hurricane, we're going to be the guys that can take care of your babies while you're away. So we missed that. We missed all those people last year.
What do you mean by the getting in front of the concierge at the Ritz-Carlton? Like, what does that look like?
So like you've got these condo places, and Ritz-Carlton here, you've got residences. So you've got these 2 to 3 huge buildings that are just condos. And the Ritz-Carlton issue with almost every condo community here in Sarasota, the biggest issue is parking. You get 2 spots per residence. Well, I mean, that means your wife gets the Bentley and you get the Corvette and the Ferrari. Oh yeah, you can't buy your Ferrari or you can't drive your Ferrari in Florida because you don't have any parking spots for it. So you want to get in front of those people that are like, hey, listen, Mr. Johnson, I know that you're upset that you can't have your Ferrari in Florida and it's up in Ohio during the winter, but if you go to Skyway Motorspace, they can store your Ferrari and they're only a phone call away for either dropping it off or you coming out there and picking it up. So it's just about getting in front of the right people in those communities, whether it's an HOA manager or a concierge that just interacts with clients on a daily basis. At the end of the day, I'm solving a problem. There's nothing glamorous really about storage. At the end of the day, I'm just really solving someone's problem where they've got not enough space and too many cars, or they want more cars and they just have nowhere to put them. So
what do you think comes first, though? Is it the storage or is it the PPF and the coatings and the window tint? Is that easier to sell? And then, because it's more glamorous, and then people come in and they're like, oh my gosh, wow. I didn't know you just did all this.
So it's going to be, I think the clientele out there, you're going to get your PPF. The way that I market, my marketing is going for the PPF and ceramic coating right off the bat. Probably more ceramic coating. But then your clients that come in for PPF are going to be the clients that come in for storage are eventually going to buy something from us. But that's a slower sale. Your quicker sale is going to be, we all know where the money's at when it comes to detailing things. Ceramic coating is always a home run. But my ceramic coating clients aren't going to fill my storage. But my storage clients will offset some ceramic coating sales. So it's a tough answer because you can't be black and white on that answer. You just got to throw money at both of it.
Yeah. I would imagine that, I mean, not all, but some of the people that have nice cars that they're getting PPF'd, they either know someone or they themselves have enough cars to where they could at least put like a few in storage, or they go to an event somewhere and then people talk.
Yeah, word of mouth is huge.
Yeah.
I think so. That's one of the reasons too. We try to get as many people here as possible. It's just the events. It's how do we just get in front of people here?
How did the grand opening go? That looked really cool on your social media.
Yeah, thank you. The grand opening itself was more of a party dedicated to the friends and family that were in the building process from kind of day one to now. But one thing that we've really focused on is doing an open house monthly. And that, in my opinion, is more towards future success of getting in front of clients. The grand opening was a great party. Someone put Garth Brooks on and I got handed a microphone and I had some singing, and it was a really good time. We had a lot of fun, but that one was more of the private event of thanks to all the friends and family that have stuck around and been patient while we're building this facility.
Okay. Gotcha. Um, you guys obviously have a lot of cool stuff at your shop. And with someone's listening to this, if someone's listening and they're just getting started, it's really easy to like feel overwhelmed with how much stuff, the highest end shop has. And oh, I need this and I need that. I need the air scrubber and I need the lifts. But obviously for a lot of the smaller guys just getting started, it's harder to afford those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have any experience tips that you could just share as far as talking to those younger guys that are getting started, as far as like how to prioritize um, their own shop in the detailing space?
One thing that I would say, and it's kind of goes without saying it, is I think cleanliness is probably one of the biggest things that I've learned in the industry. Is customers love a clean shop. And the same thing goes for if you and I are going to go to a restaurant and might have great food, but if it's gross, like I don't know if I
Yeah.
want to eat there, And I've always tried to maintain a really, really clean shop wherever I've been. And you'll hear a lot of clients say, "Hey, you know what? That place is awesome, or they did really good work, but man, that place was not. Wasn't clean." And people walk into our shop, and once again, I'm not trying to be, the guy that's telling everybody to grab a broom and wipe stuff down when they're not doing stuff. But I mean, new guys just need to focus on keeping a clean shop. I think the presentation and first impressions to customers is everything. And my clients just love hearing, like, they tell me that, "Man, you got the cleanest shop in town." I'm like, thank you. Because my mom made sure that my bedroom was clean. And my mom made sure that the kitchen was always clean. And if you're going to have guests over, you're going to make sure the place is clean, and presentable. And I think that goes into, owning a business. So, I mean, you could have the coolest shop and the most impressive tools and the most expensive materials. But if your shop is not tidy 24/7, like you got a long way to go. And I mean, I hate to even be a stickler with just like cups out. I mean, granted, I have a Red Bull right now on my desk, but if I see the guys in the back with a drink out, I mean, I got no problem with, we have branded water bottles with their names on them. Like, that's clean. Like, that looks good, And I think just presentation is everything. But when it comes to spending money, I think the key things is you just focusing on what's important to you. If you're a PPF shop, obviously you need to make sure you have the right plotter system. You should make sure you're using Core or whatever system you're going to use for plotting. Make sure you have that. I think always keeping a little bit of extra material on deck is important. You might be looking at it like, oh man, I don't want to spend that extra $1,500. Buy the film. Make sure you have it. Worst case scenario, worst thing that you can ever do is tell a customer, no, you can't do their car today because you don't have the film.
Yeah.
They're going to go somewhere else, So I think being able to say yes to anything is one of the most important things in this industry. I love it when a customer is like, "Hey, can you take my car right now?" Yes. Even if I know that we probably can't do it, we'll find a way to. We'll prioritize other things, but learn to say yes. I think that's one of the biggest things too. So it's not always just about outfitting the facility, but like I said, cleanliness is important, and just making sure you have the right stock and things. So, and then going with a good company that you trust and believe in. Don't just go with a coating that it's a little bit less money. Go with a coating that there's going to be good customer satisfaction to back you. If you need a warranty, if you need something that you can believe in. If you can't put it on your mom's car or dad's car, why would you put it on a customer's car? So I think you should always sell something that you truly believe in. And I think those are the easy roads to success right there for me.
Cool.
And if I can chime in one more thing, training. The most valuable thing that you could have in your shop are your employees. So if you dedicate time and effort into, and even money, into making sure that your employees are trained properly and they love and care what they do, then you're going to have a great team.
I know you guys are doing the PPF training right now. Do you guys have plans to do additional training after that?
Depends on what my guys want to do. I don't want everyone to be able to do everything, because at some point, then now I'm hiring new guys for buffing in cars. Now I'm hiring guys for doing new, for tint and stuff. I think that let your guys be really good at what they're good at, but I don't mind them learning new things. So I don't know if I want them tinting. I'd rather have the tinters tint, So
I've always heard that if you're a good tint installer, that you're probably not quite as good at PPF and vice versa. Although I know there are guys out there that can do both. But can you
I
do
will
both
say that
well?
I've only found one person recently that can tint, do PPF, and do vinyl, and enjoy doing all of it. I've got a really great guy that's my subcontractor right now, and he's great at PPF. He loves doing vinyl, but he will not touch tint. Even if I asked him, dude, I will pay you to learn tint, he would say no.
Yeah. I wonder
So,
why.
I don't know. I think, and I always joke around. I always let the plumbers plumb.
Yeah.
Let the people that are really good at what they're good at, let them just do their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes throwing too much at people it's just too much at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they're just different. They're different ways that you think about it and require a different person, I think, to be good at it at the end of the day. So
I
there's
mean,
only so many Michael
tinting.
Jordans.
There's no way I'm contorting in the back of a GT3 RS with a cage back there.
Yeah.
So.
Well, cool. Well, Will, this has been great, man. I appreciate you coming on. Looking forward to seeing just where the business grows going into 2026. Be keep an eye on you guys and everyone listening. Go check out Skyway Motorspace's social media. It's really impressive what you guys done, and a beautiful facility. So I think there's a lot of inspiration that all of us can take from there.
Yeah, thank you for the kind words, and I appreciate you having me on the show. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I'll link all this stuff in the description below as well for everyone to check out. But I appreciate it again, Will. Have a great Thanksgiving, man. And thanks everyone for listening.
Awesome. Thank you, man.